Well, hello to all of you. I want to welcome you all to this webinar series organized by WTC Bengaluru with my dear friend Vivek Matei George in partnership with the General Consulate of France in Bengaluru, Business France, ASA, and the World Trade Centers Association Francophone Initiative. My name is Nicolas Beatty, manager of WTC Rennes Bretagne and in charge of business networks at the Rennes District Chamber of Commerce and Industry. WTC Rennes Bretagne is a trade-based and business club-based WTC located in Western France. I will be your moderator today, and I'm very honored and excited to moderate this webinar. I discovered South India last March during the WTCA's GBF organized in Bengaluru. Vivek, please send my regards to Vinit Verma as well as your team who put together a remarkable event. So before moving on, please make sure that your microphones are off and please use the Q&A box for your questions. I will be taking them and asking them to our speakers in the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So today, we'll have the pleasure and the honor to listen to presentations from His Excellency Mr. Thierry Berthelot, Honorable Consul General of France in Bengaluru, Mr. Eric Fajol, Director of Business France for India and South Asia, Mr. Himanshu Srivastava, Director in Business Advisory Services at ASA, with Mrs. Léa Parmentier at the Europe Desk at ASA, Mrs. Yael Savignac, in charge of communications at WTC Marseille-Provence. We'll have also Mr. Vivek George, Senior Manager at WTC Bengaluru. And last but not least, Mr. Pierre Mongruet, Deputy General Manager for International Relations at the Paris-Île-de-France Chamber of Commerce and Industry and WTC Paris-Île-de-France. But first, Mrs. Yael Savignac, Rosada, Communication Manager at WTC Marseille, will be giving a brief welcome address. Mrs. Yael Savignac works in communication at WTC Marseille-Provence. WTC Marseille-Provence, once again, will be hosting the WTCA's next Global Business Forum from April 6 to April 9, 2025. Mrs. Yael Savignac received a master's degree in intercultural management of communication and has additional training from SIGUS and HR management. She has worked for several companies, including GDF Suez and Altran in Paris, and moved to Marseille in 2017. Yael has been with WTC Marseille for 7 years now and is actively working on the organization of the 2025 GBF. Mrs. Savignac speaks French, English, and Spanish. Yael, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Nicholas, for this beautiful introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to be part of this webinar today, and I'm here to welcome you all on behalf of the WTCA Francophone Initiative, as Marseille is the leading project manager for 2024. The WTCA Francophone Initiative was officially launched in September 2023 in Paris, where 8 out of the 10 French WTCs signed the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, and became the founding members of this initiative. 17 French-speaking WTCs are still eligible to join. The initiative is based on 4 pillars: cooperation, events, partnerships, and development. Did you know that French was the 5th language spoken in the world? It is actually the official language of 32 countries. That's around 300 million French speakers worldwide in 3 continents: Europe, Africa, and America. The WTCA Francophone Initiative is therefore an opportunity for French-speaking countries to cooperate at growing business together, but it is also an opportunity for foreign countries to enter the Francophone market and scale their business to a higher level. I am also very, very glad to announce that the WTCA Marseille-Provence will host the next Global Business Forum in April 2025. This international event will gather over 500 people from all around the world, growing business and building the future of the network. We've launched the website last week during the European Regional Meeting in Dresden, and we opened there the registrations. We also have launched the matchmaking platform to enable the delegations and different companies to fill their profiles and schedule their future meetings here in Marseille. You are all kindly invited to attend, so we hope to see you next year. Thank you so much for your attention and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Yael. Now, Mr. Vivek George, now Senior Manager at WTC Bengaluru, Kochi, and Chennai, will set the context.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Mr. Vivek George, if I was going to give an introduction as well.
Sure.
So you hold a bachelor's degree from St. Joseph's Engineering College, at Mahatma Gandhi University, and an MBA in Marketing and HR from SCMS Cochin School of Business. Vivek has been with WTC Kochi, then WTC Bengaluru Kochi Chennai since 2016, and he has previously worked at the Cochin Chamber of Commerce and Industry in corporate relations. On top of his responsibilities, Vivek is also the chair of the WTCA's Business Club Member Advisory Council. Vivek, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nicholas. Really glad to have you all. And as I was saying, when we were putting this together, all I needed was reaching out to Nicholas because, he was our point of contact for Francophone World Trade Centers. So I'm really glad, Nicholas, to have you as a moderator for the first episode that we're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all those who are joining from France and afternoon to those turning in from India. It is with great pleasure and excitement that we are all here to organize to present the inaugural episode of our webinar series, which is titled Doing Business with India and France. This series is a collaborative effort with the World Trade Centers in Bengaluru, Kochi, and Chennai, and our colleagues from the Francophone WTCs, Paris, Rennes, Britannia, and Marseille province, along with our knowledge partner, ASA. Today, as we start on a journey to explore the intricacies and, of course, the opportunities of conducting business in India, India is an exciting nation to work with. It is a nation known for its vibrant economy, diverse markets, strong leadership, stable government, and of course, the entrepreneurial spirit that you see around. We have our esteemed chief guest today with us, His Excellency Mr. Thierry Berthelot, Honorable Consul General of France in Bengaluru. He brings with him a wealth of experience and insights, and I'm sure it will enrich our understanding of the topic. Throughout the series, we aim to delve into various aspects of bilateral trade, investment opportunities, and to a certain extent, cultural synergies, and of course, the regulatory framework that shape up the business landscapes of India and France. We are honored to have distinguished speakers from WTCs, ASA, Business France, and our colleagues from the WTCA network, who will share their expertise and perspectives on navigating these dynamic markets. I'm sure today's webinar will serve as a catalyst for building bridges between the two nations, fostering dialogue and forging lasting partnerships. It is through such collaborative efforts that we pave the way for mutual growth and prosperity. With that, I encourage each one of you to actively participate. Thank you again for your wonderful participation, showing interest in this session. Please engage with our speakers. Use the opportunity presented throughout the series. Together, let us explore, learn, and leverage the vast potential that lies in the synergy between the two countries. Thank you once again for joining us, and I wish you all an insightful and productive session. I hand it back to Nicholas. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you. Now I turn to our chief guest, His Excellency Mr. Thierry Berthelot, Honorable Consul General of France in Bengaluru. The consulate covers the states of Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. Mr. Thierry Berthelot has been working for the French Ministry of European and Foreign Affairs since 1993. Correct me if I'm wrong, Thierry. Before his nomination as the General Consul of France in Bengaluru, Mr. Berthelot has held positions in Beijing and Korea, as well as within the Ministry of Defense and at the United Nations as First Secretary at the Permanent Mission in Geneva. Mr. Berthelot holds a bachelor's degree in Chinese and Oriental Studies from the National Institute of Oriental Studies in Paris and a master's degree from the University Paris II in Law and Defense. Thierry, it is great to see you again. I know that you hold Brittany close to your heart, and I would love to see you again in the near future in beautiful, almost sunny Brittany. Thierry, Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed partners from the World Trade Centers Organization, esteemed colleagues, as France and the city of Marseille will host the next year the Global Business Forum of the WTC in April 2025, I'm honored and more than happy to address you today on this vital topic of doing business in India. But first, let me tell you that France and the French WTC members will be more than happy to welcome Indian WTC members in Marseille next year in this fabulous city, which welcomed the Olympic flame the first a month ago, coming by sea from Greece. Our two nations, ladies and gentlemen, France and India, have maintained a strategic partnership for over 25 years, rooted in mutual trust, strategic autonomy, and a shared commitment to democratic values and international law. This partnership is not only historical, but is continually evolving, embracing new areas of cooperation, such as space, with a great cooperation between ISRO and CNES, the French National Space Agency, maritime security, counter-terrorism, sustainable growth and development. France and India are indeed close partners in several multilateral initiatives, including in the UN system. But the best example is probably the support provided by France last year to India during the Indian presidency of the G20. I could also, of course, mention the Solar Alliance organization, which was jointly created by India and France. India is also definitely a major partner for France in the Indo-Pacific region. We do have a close military cooperation with the Indian Armed Forces, with, for example, regular military exercises between our two navies or our two air forces. And of course, we are very proud to see Rafale planes flying under the prestigious Indian flag of the Indian Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, Prime Minister Modi's visit to France in July 2023, as well as President Emmanuel Macron's visit to India in January 2024, have significantly strengthened our bilateral relations. During Mr. Modi's visit, the leaders agreed to deepen cooperation across diverse sectors, including strategic, cultural, scientific, academic, and economic cooperation. I would like to underline that it has been mentioned, the constituency of the Consulate General of France in Bangalore includes the states of Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh. So I would like to focus on that area on which I'm working on. The majority of our French citizens in this constituency, around 650 people registered, are indeed, most of them are indeed in Bangalore or Bangalore. But we have also a small community in Hyderabad, which is growing in number. And you may have noticed that the French government decided last year to open a branch office of the consulate in Hyderabad. And we decided to put it in a kind of a innovative way within the T-Hub, which is a major startup incubator, not only of Hyderabad, but the major one in India, in order to be closer to the new generations of Indian entrepreneurs, the tech ecosystem that is growing in that great city of Hyderabad. In Karnataka, French presence is notably strong in the aerospace and space sectors, with companies such as Safran, ITR, Thales, and of course the European group Airbus, but also with many French suppliers. These firms are significant employers, providing thousands of jobs. The IT sector is also well represented by, for example, Capgemini, Dassault Systèmes, and Sopra Steria, which employ a lot of Indian engineers. Additionally, other prominent French companies like Steiner Electrics, Alstom, Saint-Gobain, Decathlon, Suez, and others are making a substantial contribution to the state's economy. Our partnership extends beyond economic sectors, of course. We have strong university cooperations, exchange of students between Karnataka and France. We have also scientific cooperation with major institutions in Bengaluru in mathematics, biology, or physics. Recently, several agreements have been signed. I would like just to mention the MOU signed in January 2024 between the government of Karnataka and the president of the Île-de-France region, we call it Paris region, enhancing different areas of cooperation, including in the digital technology. In Karnataka, which previous governments signed a MOU of cooperation with the city of Bordeaux Métropole a couple of years ago. French companies such as Safran, Schneider Electric, Keolis, Decathlon are key players, reflecting robust industrial ties. I would also like to mention Capgemini, Safran Digit, and Teleperformance, who are driving the digital transformation in that state. In the pharma industry, Sanofi is there and SGD Pharma as well. They are leading our collaborative efforts in pharmaceuticals and biotech. We have also investments from Mona, HM Close, and Limagrain in the agro-food sector. That underscore the broad spectrum of French business activities in Telangana. In Andhra Pradesh, ladies and gentlemen, we see a lot of new expectations coming with the election recently of Honorable Chandra Babu Naidu as the new chief minister. We have a few large French enterprises there, like Alstom in Sri City, Vicat, Saint-Gobain, or Imerys. And I would like to underline, for example, that Alstom facilities in Sri City produce state-of-the-art rail transport solutions, contributing significantly to both local and international markets. I'm pleased to say that, as some of you know already, 2026 will be celebrated as the India-France Year of Innovation, as jointly decided by President Macron and Prime Minister Modi, taking on board existing and new initiatives by both Indian and French companies or Indian and French R&D centers that are working together. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention and your commitment to enhancing the economic partnership between France and India. And I'm pleased, and please don't forget to book your ticket for Marseille, April 2025. And of course, don't forget to apply on time for your visa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your presentation. Now, moving on to a special address from Eric Fajol, Director of Business France for India and South Asia. Eric Fajol has an impressive international career and has worked in Brazil for the French Embassy as well as Business France, Turkey as commercial attaché for the French Embassy, Paris as an executive director and general director in charge of FDIs, and today in India as Trade Commissioner for the French Embassy. He covers India, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. Mr. Fajol holds degrees from Fermat in Toulouse and the ISC Business School in Paris. Mr. Fajol speaks French, English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. I want to thank once again Business France, actually, Eric, for its excellent work during our stay in Bengaluru last March. Business France put together a remarkable reception at the French consulate, along with the French trade advisors. Thank you. Eric, the floor is yours.
Merci, merci Nicolas. Thank you, Nicolas, and good afternoon and good morning to everyone. I'm very happy to and thank you for the invitation by WTC to be part of that webinar. We had the pleasure to receive you with the Consul General a few months ago in Bangalore, and we are very happy to contribute to this event today, and also we will be very happy to join your next event in Marseille. I actually just come back from Marseille. I was there last year. I can see the dynamism of that region of south of France, including Provence. Provence is a destination for more and more Indian tourists. France is not only Paris, it's also the south, and Indians are also investing in Marseille, investing in that region of south, and buying properties. So I think it's a good occasion to visit that beautiful second city of France next year, and we will be happy to join as Business France is concerned. So to do business, I'm not sure I will explain to Indian people how to do business in India. My only advice is if you want to do business in India, just do it with Indian. I think only Indian people can understand how the market works, and I think they are the best partner to find for a French company who like to export or to set up a business or to invest in India. That's our recommendation. And you can see that most of the French companies now established in India are headed by Indian citizen as a CEO or as a number two, and that most of the French companies here are employing local people, Indian managers, and very few expats are managing those companies. So that's an advice that Business France is giving also to approach the Indian market, is to go through Indian distributor, Indian importer, Indian partner in a joint venture, or even Indian financing. Also, we have seen some French company establishing business in India through local financing from Indian banks. So that the key of the success is to do it through Indian. Just to explain what Business France is doing, Business France is a government agency of France. So I'm based in Delhi with a team in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Chennai, based in the consulates and in the embassy. We have three main missions in India, like other countries in the world. The first one is to assist French exporters to enter in the market. We have assisted last year 500 French companies to enter in India or to do business with the Indian partners in many sectors. And for us, 2023 was a very important year, not only as the Consul General said, but the anniversary of the 25th strategic partnership between France and India, but also for the appetite of the French company for the Indian market, and also the requirement that we have received and the demand that we are receiving from Indian company to buy from France, to source some products in France, to have some technology coming from France, and to establish partnerships with French companies. So I think this is a trend, and I was reading some paper from the consulate, our consulate in Bangalore. From the beginning of this year, in 6 months, in the state of Telangana and Karnataka, we have seen 12 French companies, small, medium, or big groups, opening, inaugurating, and extending facilities, plants, offices in those 2 states of India. This is the same for Maharashtra. This is the same from Delhi, NCR. We have seen the presence of France growing, and we are also supporting that growth. So I will come back on the French presence. The second mission of Business France is also to assist Indian investors when they want to invest in France, where they want to choose France as a key destination to establish a business for the EU market, but also for the African, especially West African market. I think France is a key destination now, especially after Brexit, for Indian business to open office, to open storage, to open facilities or plants from France. And we have a very nice investment from India in many regions of France, including, as I said, the south of France. We have seen a growth also in the interest of Indian investors for the French market. The third mission of Business France is to manage a young talent program. It's called VIE. They are volunteers, very young engineers, boys and girls, just after university, going to India for 2 years and working with some French companies. So it's a talent program that we are very proud of, and is benefiting to many French companies all around India. It's through a bilateral agreement that we have with the Indian government. So Business France is not alone. Business France is a partner with and is a founding member of Team France Exports, including today in India the French Chamber of Commerce, IFCI, present in many cities of India. ASA, I think that ASA is one of the speakers today. We have 3 CA firms who are preferred partners of Business France, ASA, UGA, and SAS partner. We have also 2 law firms, French ones, who are also helping us to bring more French business to India, Altios and Elma for human resource issues. So as you see, the French system and the French team is quite well organized, with the support, of course, of the World Trade Center when it's relevant. But we have a strong team to advise French business and to also assist any Indian willing to buy from France. So maybe a word for the French company who are assisting in this webinar. I mean, I won't explain why you have to be in India. I think India became, after COVID, the main destination in Asia to be present, not only because of the situation in China, and we have seen some French company moving a little bit from China to India, especially as an industrial hub, but also because of the domestic market, which is with a very high level of growth. Economic growth is one of the best in the world at those days. That is attracting also investors to benefit from the domestic dynamism of the market. India is a key player now in many sectors, not only in servicing for IT. The main presence of France in India is Capgemini, with almost 200,000 employees. We have a lot of IT services developed in India. We also hire a lot of Indian engineers and IT people going to France for IT services. So this sector is very, very dynamic. But we have different part of the strategic partnership, which are very important for the bilateral relation. especially last year we had a very big focus on space industry, aeronautics. Aeronautics, India is one of the best and maybe the first market for Airbus and all the suppliers of Airbus. We have a strong demand also and growing demand into the energy sector, automotive and electrical vehicles, where France has a lot of technology, not only for EV, but also with hydrogen. Medical service and medical device, India has a very strong network of private and public hospital, and the medical device sector is very open to import foreign brands. Energy, I said nuclear sector is a sector where we have invested a lot, but newer renewable energy is also a sector where we have seen a growing presence of French company. Cosmetic, fashion, luxury, and art of living. It's also very interesting and booming activities for French equipment. And not last but not least, machinery. I think France has a very interesting offer to equip any new industry in India with industrial equipment and machinery to replace the Chinese machines that most of them have equipped many Indian plants. Now we can see that some high-level Indian buyers and some high-level Indian industry wants to have a European machine. Can be German, it can be Italian, it can be French, Swiss, but there is a change into the perception of the quality and the performance of the European machines compared to other suppliers. So I think this is a trend that India will go through, and we expect to see more French company. Just maybe as a conclusion, we have almost 800 French subsidiaries in India. As I said, it's growing. Most of the big French groups, part of the CAC 40 Paris Stock Exchange, are present in India, and this is also very important to have those big groups very active and investing a lot in India. It's sometimes the first step to enter in the Indian market is also to go through the big French groups, and they can help the smaller business to enter in the market. On the other side, we have more or less 170 Indian company established in France, and we have seen more and more interest from India into the aeronautics sector in France, automotive, batteries, and pharmaceutical. We have a very recent investment from Indian pharma into the French market. We are very open to welcome them and very happy to assist. Our offices in India are here to assist those Indian investors willing to expand business to France. We are not assisting exporters from India, we are assisting only investors, and we will be very happy to do that for free to the one who are interested around this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And very interesting how Brexit indirectly encouraged Indian companies to work with France. We'll hear more about it in the next webinar of this series. And also currently working with the French trade advisors. Thank you for talking about the VIE, VIE. I might have questions about it in the Q&A section of this webinar. Now moving on to a presentation by the ASA team. So we'll have two people. The first person, Himanshu Srivastava, Senior Partner at ASA and Associates. Mr. Srivastava has been working for ASA since 2003. He holds an accountant degree from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, a BA of Law from Chaudhary Charan Singh University, and is even now a CPA for Australia since April 2024. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it's been only a couple months, so I can still congratulate you about it, Himanshu. Himanshu also speaks English, Hindi, and Japanese. Second person to talk in this presentation, Mrs. Léa Parmentier, has been with ASA since 2022. She is with the Europe desk. Léa Parmentier holds a bachelor's degree in business management and marketing, as well as a master's degree in international business, trade, and commerce from France's Management University, IAE France. Mrs. Parmentier is also a board member and secretary of the Delhi Accueil Network. Mrs. Parmentier speaks English, German, and French. Quick reminder before moving on to the presentation, please use the Q&A box for your questions. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you very much, Nicolas, for the introduction. Just allow me to share my screen. I hope this is visible for everyone. Yes. Yeah, great. So thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nicolas, for the intro and all the WTCs for putting this webinar together. I don't think we will spend too much of time on explaining why you have to come to India or when you have to come to India. Consul General went through that, Eric also, and I think nobody is asking this, but we will help you to understand how to come to India and go more into the operational part to set up a company in India. What are the different entities you can have, whether you want to come alone or with an Indian partners or do an acquisition. Himanshu will also talk about the FDI regarding the sectors and how you can incorporate a subsidiary here. And we will also touch upon the tax rates and tax regimes here and how you can send back your money to France or your head office in your country. Maybe Himanshu, you can take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Nicholas, for the introduction. And foremost, thank you very much, His Excellency, Mr. Thierry Berlot, for the very exciting address. And of course, it was very nice to hear Mr. Eric Fajol with the kind of interaction France has in India. So I'm very delighted. Thank you, Team WTC, and we have taken note of the sessions which are planned in future. We definitely want to support and be part of them. And now moving on to the presentation, we all are familiar with India, but just to put the context right, there are primarily 5 considerations for any foreign company to invest in a foreign jurisdiction. I'm speaking India and world right now. So to say that the growth possibilities, the government interaction, as well as the commitment to the supporting infrastructure, geopolitical sweet spot as India it is right now, and the other infrastructure such as digital and integration with trade linkages. Just to take a step back and put some facts on the before the audience, is that I was very surprised to notice certain facts that Apple revenue in India jumped 42% in the last year. It is now $8.7 billion. India is now largest market for electronics, specifically smartphones and Apple iPhone. The overall consumption is increasing like never-ending space. It is a very high trajectory. So there is demand in the country for local consumption. Of course, the government is working with the business community by increasing public spending, investing in road infrastructure, and various projects which have very long-term impact. Looking at the statistics, there are about $11,000 billion which was committed last budget by the finance minister. That's a huge amount, and more is coming in July. Besides economic geopolitical positioning, I would say that besides, India is working very closely with France, countries like US, Japan, Australia in this area, in this geopolitical spot. There are traction because of various instances and circumstances that a lot of foreign companies are keen now to move their supply chains to India. And we are seeing tremendous investments and initiatives in the field of space, aviation, electronics, and technology. We also very proudly boast of very strong digital public infrastructure system. UPI is one of the wonders which we are very thankful as Indians to be, it has really simplified our lives. Plus, it opens up a lot of possibilities. India has been a hub of unicorns, and the number are increasing. Besides, as His Excellency mentioned, the strategic partnership with France in this area of space, maritime security, sustainable development, support in the G20, Solar Alliance. There are other linkages with other regions as are visible. For example, besides this, the trade pact with EU, Australia, New Zealand, Gulf, and UK are in process. So there is a bit of undercurrent of what India can hold promise, the opportunities for any multinational to look at India at their place to be supplying to the Indian market as well as for the export potential. I would just move on to the next slide. So to back it up, while India grows in its stride in ease of doing business, such as some very fundamental reforms, One Tax, One Nation, GST, Income Tax, Companies Act, faster restructuring through insolvency and bankruptcy code, leasing of core assets for roads, railways, ports, and power, oil and gas through national monetization pipeline. Many liberalization have been happening since 2020 in terms of FDI, attracting foreign investments into India and making India a very favorable jurisdiction for a lot of foreign investors. Digital India, Gati Shakti, which is a combination of a digital platform of 16 ministries to ensure that none of the projects are executed in isolation to ensure economies and efficiency, is another big project which is going to transform India. Hydrogen Clean Mission India. There are just few examples. Production linked incentive scheme for various critical sectors, and we have seen the results. A lot was attracted during COVID itself. Like past 3 years, we've seen tremendous response, acceptance to the PLI schemes announced by the government of India. So in terms of key growth areas, of course, we have listed down a few of them. I would say that there is enough potential for many other sectors. Manufacturing holds a big promise. Healthcare, because of the growing population, there's a big strain. And of course, the opportunity and demand for healthcare companies. Financial services, we've seen new stories being charted as Gift City and other areas. Industrial infrastructure township, because of the size of the country, we really need to utilize every corner and skills. And we see that every state is doing remarkable stride in attracting foreign investors and to make ease of doing business in those states very potential. Chemicals, e-commerce, and aviation, there are some sectors. Information technology, as I've already covered. Space is something that government is really keen to kind of promote. Automotive sector, India remains to be the largest consumer of passenger and commercial vehicles. So there is tremendous opportunity. These sectors, besides other, hold very big opportunity for French companies to look at India seriously. Next. Now to promote the equitable economic development and to encourage and distribute the opportunities across the country, development of industrial township is very fundamental, which will also create more economic nodes. Right now, we see of course, there are many numbers, but then there are limited numbers for various economic clusters, for various activities spread across the country. But in order to harness the real potential, real economic, natural, I would say, the advantage, we need to increase the number of linkages and connect mega cities to small cities to ensure that the labor or employment opportunities are created in local cities. We are still on very much with our smart city projects, and of course, new economic corridor, as you can see on the industrial map of India, holds a very big potential. I was in Gujarat last week, and I was very impressed with Dholera, special economic region. And I think there are a number of new economic regions which are coming, which will hold promise for various sectors and for various investors to explore and strategize their investment into India. Please.
Thank you very much, Himanshu. I'll take it forward as of now. So we mentioned lots of sectors and opportunities for the French companies. Now the big question is, how do I come and set up in India? So here we have listed 3 main ways, I would say, to come here as a foreign entity. So the first one is the greenfield investment. What does it mean? It means that you are coming to India on your own. So either to set up your own entity or your own factory. So what does that mean? Obviously that you need to use your own funds to build a new facility or to have a new office in the country. So we need to take that into account, especially if you want to set up a factory, which is usually not a small investment, especially for French SME, which is looking to the India sector. Now, why would I prefer to have, I would say, my own entity as compared as come with an Indian partners? As even though Eric mentioned that you should come with an Indian partner, sometimes you would like to come on your own to have a clean start and have the full control, be it on the human resources, on the intellectual property. If this is a highly sensitive topic, I would suggest to go with a full subsidiary, own subsidiary. And obviously there would be no interference with any Indian partner. But a couple of problems are coming with that. Obviously, you will have higher investment commitments because you are the only investors in your company. It can take a long time before having any return on investment. You will not have a local knowledge. Sometimes it might be difficult to find some workforce to build your distribution network here in India, to deal with the government as well. So you need to set up everything on your own. So depending on your business, it can be a good choice or not the preferred one. The second option would be a M&A, so either merger or acquisition. So here, I don't think I need to explain to anyone what is an M&A, but the fund would be a bit less, in a sense, actually depends on what is the size, but you will buy or purchase share of the company, or you can do the acquisition of a full Indian company. This is a great way to enter the market because there would be usually no barriers. The time will be reduced as compared as, let's say, setting up a factory, which can take 2 or 3 years if you are starting from scratch. Here, the factory will usually already be here. The local partner will help you to deal with the government. The distribution network might already be present, same with the clientele and the workforce as well. So everything is here. You just need to put your money in there. Now, a couple of problems you may face. One is the surprises, hidden, especially surprises on the past issues, because you are taking over a company which was already existing in the past. That's why we are strongly encouraging companies which are coming to do a thorough check, background check, even investigation on the partners that they are buying in India, to be sure that there is no records in the past with the tax authorities or some criminal records, because obviously you don't want to know that once you have acquired the company. Conflict and cultural conflicts, especially with the local partners or the workforce, can happen. So you need to be prepared on that. And in the end, the success always lies on the post-acquisition integration with the entity that you have acquired. The third option that we recommend quite a lot, I would say, and we are receiving more and more requests of French SMEs, especially who wants to enter the Indian market quite quickly. It's the JV, so joint venture. What is this? Joint venture, it's when you create a company from scratch, so the joint venture company, JVC, with an equity investment from both sides. So from your head office in France and from your Indian partners. It's kind of the best of the world between, I would say, greenfield investment and M&A, because it helps you to have a clean start since a new company is created. Less investment is required, since the Indian party is also putting money in the company, you will have access to new markets, be it in India, or you can also target to sell or export to the South Asian region, to the Middle East, and to all this APAC zone. And you will have no risk of past hidden surprises because you are creating a new company. Now, obviously, some cons are coming along, so you will have less freedom as compared as your 100% subsidiary, because everyone will have rights and shares. But you need to keep in mind something important that we sometimes don't know when we are coming from France, is that 51% is not always the majority. A couple of decisions need to have a 76% of shares to be taken. So really be careful when you are signing your JV agreement with an Indian partner, and check which decision require either a 51% or a 76% of votes, right votes. Exits, obviously we don't want to talk exits when we haven't entered the Indian market yet, but it's something to really keep in mind, and we always advise our clients to think of their exit strategy when they enter and set up, be it an entity or a JV. So you need to be clear in the beginning. Okay, if my JV doesn't work well, or if I want to stop my JV, let's say in 5 or 10 years, what's going to happen? Who can buy the new shares, or my shares, or my partner shares? What will be the value? After which period of time it's going to happen? So it can be tricky. So better to be well prepared in the beginning before starting the operation, and have the exits clause already in the JV agreement. And finally, safety of the company's intellectual property. So as mentioned, if you have a highly sensitive IP, a joint venture with an Indian partner is not always the best decision if you want to protect yourself and keep the intellectual property with you. Himanshu, over to you for this one.
Yeah, thank you, Leah, for that overview. So now, in terms of investment, whenever we are talking about foreign investments, we need to first do a bit of research, because certain sectors and activities are 100% automatic, means you don't need any prior approval from anybody. But certain sectors may have certain thresholds for investment, 49, 75, 26%, or they may altogether require government approval prior to even setting up. So foreign investment is welcome, but then it depends on which sector you're proposing, which activity you're proposing to carry out in India. Leah has mentioned about local entity setup, subsidiary, joint ventures. There are other ways where you can start your India journey. For example, you can have a head office representation by way of either setting up a branch office, which is mostly suitable to trade your commodities in India, or to do technical collaborations specifically for shipping and airline companies or IT companies. Branch office has a perpetual existence, and the number of compliances are significantly lower as compared to a wholly owned subsidiary. We'll come on to the advantages of subsidiary later. Liaison office is primarily a communication channel between the head office as well as Indian market. So job of liaison office is only to communicate the opportunities and risk rewards, basically a SWOT analysis, do a research in India for a limited time frame of either 2 years or 3 years. That's what the Reserve Bank of India permits a liaison office. It can be extended, but the objective is to come, set up an office, hire a very minimal staff, employees, and do your research. And if you're convinced to start operations in India, then move on to a maybe wholly owned subsidiary or a joint venture. A very specifically and very special structure called project office is there, wherein if any foreign company has been approached by Indian company, Indian ministry, or they have won a bid in India to execute a project, instead of doing a whole structure such as wholly owned subsidiary or a joint venture, they can simply come in and set up a project office. to execute that project. And once the project is over, they can simply pay the taxes and repatriate the profits back to France. Besides, limited liability partnership is best of all the world, have the limited liability as in wholly owned subsidiary, but it is more preferred for a servicing industry as compared to a manufacturing. Next, please. So we've just highlighted few illustrative sectors. The list is very long, but let's say we have a company which want to invest in a defense sector. So 100% equity is permitted in defense sector in India. However, up to 74% is under automatic route. And if let's say a French company want to do 100% wholly owned subsidiary, it needs a approval from Ministry of Defense, Government of India, likewise. There are other sectors, for example, print media, which is, of course, media, publication, newspaper, and periodicals, sensitive and strategic areas. So 26% is only permitted. Satellite establishment and operation, certain activities are permitted only 49% without government approval, and certain with government approval up to 74%. But overall, a French company can have 100% equity in this company, subject to the government approval. Telecom service, cash and carry, wholesale trading, single brand product retailing. We have retail chains in India which is permitted under 100%, subject to certain condition that the goods are manufactured and labeled and not simply procured on an outsourced model and labeled as it is. Construction development of township housing is under 100% automatic route. Similarly, space manufacturing of components and systems, subsystems, as His Excellency also highlighted this area, it is under 100% automatic route. And likewise, the list is very long, but for the sake of understanding, we've just picked up a few and explained. Next. So that was what is permitted, and then there is a list of what is not permitted. Chit fund and Nidhi company is basically collection of money or fixed sums at a regular intervals by few individuals or few companies. So this is not permitted because finance is a regulated sector by Reserve Bank of India. Agricultural plantation activities are restricted and not restricted. So you need to be very careful whether it is aquaculture, pisciculture, or agriculture as such, or plantation. Plantation specifically is not permitted. So there are different sectors, specifically these which are not permitted. Real estate and construction of farmhouse, very specifically, I would just like to clarify that townships, residential townships and roads and bridges are not categorized as real estate. Real estate means when you simply buy and trade in real estate commodities or premises without having a real stake in the business, or simply trying to monetize through profits, purchase and sell simultaneously. Next.
Thanks, Himanshu. So as you can see, almost all the sectors are open to foreign direct investment in India, which is a great news for our French companies. Now, just to come back on the different entities that you can have if you want to set up on your own in India. So the liaison office, as Himanshu mentioned, it's usually when you want to explore the India market and kind of taste the waters, I would say, do market research, etc. The most important thing to keep in mind is that you cannot have any commercial transaction if you have a liaison office. So this is only communication channel between your head office and India. Now for the branch office and project office, Himanshu has explained what is here. There is a direct control from the head office and the management. And what is important to keep in mind, I'm going more towards the tax side now, it's that liaison office, branch office, and project office, they are non-resident entities in India. It means that this is the extension only of the parent company in India, but this is not a company which is registered in India. I'll explain just in the next slide what would be the difference more on the tax side. On the contrary, LLP is a separate legal entity that you need to incorporate in India. So it means that you can also protect your IP as well. Now, as Himanshu mentioned, this is usually not the most used form to set up in India, especially if you want to do business. This is more for servicing company here. And the point to note is that the investor entry and exit is not frequent. LLP in French would be a SAS company. And now we have the wholly owned subsidiary. So this is the typical subsidiary that the companies are setting up in India. In French, it would be a SARL form. So again, this is a separate legal entity that you are creating in the country, so easier to protect your IP if this is a highly sensitive topic here. Now, what's the aim? Usually, you set up in India a subsidiary when you want to kind of take the plunge, I would say, and really have a midterm or long-term plan in India. You don't want to set up here only to make profit on the short term, but you really want to be here, grow your business. The profit that you are having in India, it's not to repatriate all to France, but to grow your business in the country and in the region. And here, the investor entry and exit is quite easy, quite expected. You just have to buy or sell your shares. So it's quite easy on the day-to-day life. These two, LLP and wholly owned subsidiary, they are resident entities in India. That means that you need to do the incorporation process in India with the registrar of companies. Now, regarding the tax part, so I will start from the right, actually, of the table with the liaison office. So the liaison office, as I mentioned before, they cannot undertake any commercial transaction in the country. So it means no profit, so it means no taxation. That's the easy part. Then you have the project office or the branch office, so which are the foreign entities in India. So here you have a corporate tax of 40%, which is quite a lot, obviously. So this is something to keep in mind when you want to come to India with a project office or a branch office, that you will have a 40% tax rate. LLP, I will not take time on this one since it's not regularly used. And so the wholly owned subsidiary, here you have a corporate tax of either 15 or 25%. So the general tax rate is 25%, 15%. This is only for the newly incorporated manufacturing companies. It was in the previous year's budget. As you know, we just had our elections in India, and the new budget will come in a few weeks, I think beginning of July. So hopefully this advantage will be renewed in the new budget. So as of now, 15% is not here, but should be here in the budget. Dividend withholding tax is at 10%. So when you want to send back your money to France, but I will have a couple of slides on this. So this is kindly the scheme for the tax regime of your entity in India.
Okay, so to set up a wholly owned subsidiary, because that's a very most preferred form of foreign investments into India, subject to various factors which Leah in detail explained, where the foreign company want to have a complete control and run their business in India with their set of rules. Wholly owned subsidiary is a preferred format. Usually, any foreign company can set up an entity and hold equity shares with voting rights. Shareholders get dividend against the shares, as well as they are the owner of the profits as remaining after payment of taxes and other expenses. But critically, one needs to understand that there are certain factors which a foreign company needs to understand, that when you are doing a wholly owned subsidiary, technically it means that you have 100% control, but you need to still find two shareholders. It can be the headquarter and a sister concern or group company, or it can be the headquarter and one individual. A different formats, 50-50, 90, 10, 99.9, 0.1%. So it could be any format where you can exercise 100% control, but you need to select two shareholders for records, because we require shareholder meetings as mandated in the Companies Act in India. Also, you may have minimum 2 directors and maximum can 15, which can be also increased through amendment in Articles of Association. But you need to select a person who is resident in India or who will be residing in India as a resident director. He would primarily be responsible to ensure that all the compliances are met, and he represents and is registered with various authorities in India for the compliance purposes. We would like to recommend that unless it is, sometimes companies make out of courtesy, they would choose their presidents and CEOs in France as a resident director or as a director on board, plus a resident director could be, a future employee or a consultant. But all the directors in a company are required to hold tax registration in India, which is mandatory. So sometimes it can create certain apprehensions about whether a person, senior board member, being a director in India, has to pay taxes in India. So one needs to exercise a little caution there. Besides equity and preference share, there is also a very unique and useful way to fund the working capital or investments, project investment through loans from the parent company as external commercial borrowings, which is again a very flexible way to lend the money to the local entity in India and receiving it back with interest at a certain, drawdown schedule and repayment schedule. Next. So think before you set up, there are many things that we have told you, but it's still a kind of illustrative checklist that you need to understand what are the central and local laws before you finally take the plunge and incorporate a company. This should form part of your feasibility study. Of course, as Mr. Eric Fajol said, that if you want to do business with India, just do it. You need to have trust and communication with people on ground, with your consultants and advisors, and communicate the intent correctly so that it gets translated into action. If you are trying to set up a collaboration, either as a wholly owned subsidiary or going forward, you might select a partner. For collaboration, you need to have very clear terms, as Leah also mentioned. In a joint venture, you need to very clearly demarcate shareholding pattern, management rights, who will do what in the joint venture, roles and responsibilities, and various other things which should not be left to chance and should be documented as much as in detail possible, because we Indians, very sharp with documentation, so that there should not be no room for assumptions. This has been lack of clarity has been major reason, and not defining the expectations or clearly writing it on paper has been the primary reason for a lot of failed joint ventures in India. Then, as I think I've already covered these things, set investment deadlines very clearly, because you cannot set up a factory in India from scratch in 6 months, because acquiring land, taking approvals from various government departments, environmental clearances takes time. So set very clear, realistic timelines and plan your investments accordingly. If you're doing it as a joint venture, then agree with your joint venture partner that should you increase your investment, he should equally be without having to fearing that he would be diluted. So that's very important. And clear jurisdiction, whether, let's say in case of dispute, where do you really negotiate or do arbitration? Should it be in India or France, or it should be a neutral jurisdiction, is very, very important factor. And first and foremost, if in a joint venture, you should appoint an external auditor, ideally, who's nominated by the foreign party, not the Indian party. So this is some good practices and good, we've seen that leads to better reporting for a foreign investor who's not present in India. Next, please.
Just quickly, Leah and Himanshu, we're about 10 minutes behind schedule, so
okay.
I don't want to rush
you. Quickly jump into things that you need to prepare before you set up. So define your business model. If you protecting IP is very, very, very sensitive, then setting up a private limited company would be better rather than a joint venture. Or if you can control it through agreements and various methodologies, terms and conditions, then you can even do a joint venture. Next.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Nicholas, for the reminder. I just have only 3 slides to go. I'll try to go fast, but this is quite important. So the funds repatriation from the Indian legal entity to France. So there is a couple of ways to do that. The first one is the royalty and the FTS, which are the fees for technical services. So this is for in consideration for the brand, the trademark, the know-how, or the technical services. So this is all are freely repatriable to the head office, and the tax will be deductible for the India entity. The tax rate between India and France in the treaty is only 10%, and the normal tax rate in case you are not from France or if there is no agreement or treaty between your two countries with India, it would be 20%. Then we have the dividend distribution. So this is the distribution of the surplus. Again, the free reserve is entirely distributable. And as for the royalty and FTS, we have a 10% tax rate in the India-France treaty as compared as the 20% which is normally applicable. We have the share buyback. It means that the Indian company is buying back the shares to its shareholders. So it leads to a capital reduction. Here, the tax rate would be 20% on the Indian company. And finally, we have interest on loan. So when the headquarter company is loaning money to the Indian subsidiary. So here, again, the tax is deductible for the Indian entity. And in the India-France tax treaty, we have a 10% for interest. So that's all I mentioned. You can compare with a couple of other countries. You can see that France and India have a very good treaty. Everything is taxed at 10%. And we also have a clause of the most favored nation, which is available in required, but we will not spend time on this today. And one last point I would like to touch upon, because this is really important. Sometimes you don't know that you are taxable in India, even though you are. This is the permanent establishment case, so PE. What is PE? This is a taxable presence in India to which business profit can be attributed. So I will skip service PE and supervisory PE because this is not relevant in the India-France tax treaty. But if we take the fixed place PE, what is this? It just means that you have a fixed place of business in India, some fixed equipment, an office, a desk, a private office would be a fixed place of PE, same for the branch office. So it just means that you have an office in India or equipment which is used by an employee or a group of employees on a long period basis. So if this is the case, even though you don't have an entity in India, you will be considered as a permanent establishment. So you will be taxed at 40% on the business profit, which is attributed to this PE. And second case, we have the agency PE. So this is when your activity is to secure and conclude orders in India. So for example, if you're working with an agent or a sales subsidiary, marketing subsidiary, which is working for you on behalf of you. So either concluding contracts on behalf of the parent company, which is in France, or if this agent or sales agency is legally and financially dependent on the foreign company. It means if, let's say, the foreign company is their main customer or the primary customer, and let's say if they don't work with them anymore, the Indian agent or subsidiary will almost die. So this is also considered as a PE, and so it will be taxed at 40% in India. That's all for us. Maybe just one word about ASA. So we are an Indian accounting and consulting firm helping cross-border business to happen in India. So supporting especially French companies to come and set up and expand their business in the country. Thank you.
Thank you for this very interesting presentation. So now moving on to a short Q&A session. What we'll do also, and I'm addressing Vivek here, we have a few questions that we will not be able to answer. So what we'll do is we'll take them and send them to our panelists for further explanation. But just quickly, let's stay on the more specific topic. We have a question from Randa Krishna Somayaji, who says that they are a French MNC and they have entered India through buying out an Indian company in 2013 through an ECB loan. So his question, can we convert this ECB loan into equity shares in the near future? And the second question is, since the company doesn't have further scope for taking an ECB loan, so for future expansion, what do you recommend? And this is a question mostly for ASA, I assume.
So let me take it that one. So I would rather evaluate the facts more closely, Mr. Radhakrishnan, if you can take, I'll drop in my message. But yes, broadly, I would say that ECB, which I also mentioned in my presentation, that external commercial borrowing loans can be converted into equity, subject to certain compliances, such as valuation. When you issue shares in the Indian company to a foreign company, it has to be done at a fair market value. So that means we need certain share prices to be agreed, and the loan can be converted into equity and share premium and be recorded in the Indian books, provided again that the compliances for the ECB have been done regularly and there are no objections by the AD bank, authorized dealer bank, which is primarily reporting authorities, which in turn reports the compliances to Reserve Bank of India. So we need to have a more detailed chat, but maybe later.
All right, thank you. Then I have questions. I tried to categorize them. I have questions in the tourism, construction, and tech industries. So starting in the tourism industry, and this is probably a question for Business France, for Eric. What is your overview on the tourism industry in India? How do you see possibilities to grow? What would be the limitations? And actually, maybe Eric or other experts could answer another question, which the variations probably of laws in different states. So I assume in terms of taxes or soft landing in general. So that could help us for different industry. But starting with the tourism industry, Eric, what is your overview on the tourism industry in India?
Actually, I mean, tourism in India it's quite dynamic as well and growing since it was very much affected by COVID, like all the OECD and G20 countries. But I mean, now it's quite dynamic, and the domestic tourism is very dynamic. Adding to that, the wedding business is also helping a lot this sector of tourism due to the size of the weddings in India. So I would say tourism is a very interesting opportunity. We have seen the growth of the group Accor Hotels. They have now a lot of brands spread around India, and they continue the expansion of Accor Hotels from Ibis, Novotel, Mercure, Sofitel, Raffles, I mean Fairmont. All the brands are almost here, and they are in a major touristic city and business city of India with, as I said, an Indian partner being in the Interglobe, who is also the owner of Indigo. So Indigo is also benefiting in Airbus in one sense of this growth of the local tourism and international tourism. They're also expanding with Air India the number of flights and to other major city around India. So we have seen also interest from France in the ski. It's not obvious that you can develop a business in India in the skiing area, but we have company like Poma. Poma just opened at the IFKI offices. They have a VIE in India, so they have equipped some ski station in India, in different mountains in India. So I would say that even the sports sector with the tourism is quite interesting to follow, and there are possibilities to sell some savoir-faire, some technology in the management of tourism and supply chain in that sector. So I think it's not much developed on the French offer, but it's a very niche market that could be interesting to address. On the other side, as you know, in Mumbai, we have the French government agency called Atout France. Atout France is a French tourism bureau with a team in Mumbai, and they also have seen a growth in the number of Indian tourists going to France. So I think this sector is a mutual benefit. We have seen there is a new opening of Indian hotel in France. We are working for some Indian brands willing to open also Indian hotels in Paris and south of France, or some spa facility. I think into the spa and wellness sector, that's something where France has a lot to offer to as expertise and technology to develop that niche market as well.
Thank you, Eric. And how about the construction industry? Do we see companies like Bouygues, Vinci, Eiffage entering the Indian market, or even smaller companies? What, and this is also a very WTC question, because real estate is actually one of our missions at the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
So this is a question from...
Yeah, I would say the construction and retail is more difficult. I mean, I said that most of the French group are in India, except construction and except big retail sector like Carrefour or Auchan. The only one who has a big success in India is Decathlon in the big size of retail sector. Decathlon is doing very well in India. Construction was always a failure. Some French company came, but you haven't seen much of development. I think one of the few who is already present in Andhra Pradesh is Vicat with the cement, but they bought they bought something in India. You don't see, I mean, India is a very competitive market into construction, so you cannot export much equipment, materials, construction material to India. It has to be made in India. And the only way to enter in this market is to buy a local company. So, I mean, we work, as I said earlier, that we work with some real estate developers in India. I mean, real estate is booming. There is a lot of demand for decorative products, some technology for the to save energy for the buildings, for green buildings, for decoration, for furniture, with for lighting. I mean, I'm very impressed how much India is buying from France for these big chandeliers and nice stuff for the hyper luxury buildings and houses. So, I mean, construction, we are quite in a good position for like top level and luxury equipment. It's more difficult into like a basic construction materials.
All right. And last question before concluding the concluding remarks from WTC Paris. Duke Vashisht and Tarun Kohli had questions about technology. I have questions about looking for a joint venture technology partnership from France. Maybe this is a question either from for Business France or ASA. How to proceed to look for joint venture technology partnerships, and are there particular things to keep in mind in case of tech transfer with Indian partners? And this will be our last question. So, Eric, Leah, feel free to answer, or Himanshu, feel free to answer these questions.
I mean, it depends on technology. We have seen a lot of transfer of technology. If you take into account the defense contract and the Rafale contracts, I mean, France is as open. I think it might be one of the few countries in the world opening so much technology to Indian partners to set up joint venture and technological alliances with India in this sector of defense. We have seen also some IT companies developing quite well in India. So I will say, example of fintech. I mean, when President Macron came to India in January, he just opened a new link through Paytm, through UPI, to buy a ticket from India to visit Eiffel Tower. And this is behind this, we have a French technology of Lyra network, which is quite well established in India. And so I think we have some example into the IT sector where, especially fintech, edtech, some medtech as well in healthcare sector, where we are quite open to share with Indian partner. It depends on what the Indian is offering also in the same side. We know that India is very interested by bringing some new technology to the country, and then we have to see what the Indian is ready to invest or to develop for that kind of technology. So I think the best way is to reach our offices all around India, or IFKI offices, and to share which sector you want to have a French partner. And as I said, we are currently advising hundreds of companies to enter in the market. So our day-to-day job is to find Indian partners. So if we know that you could be interested into this type of partnership with French company, we'll be very happy to introduce those French companies.
Thank you, Eric. Himanshu, Leah, do you have anything to add about tech?
No, I'm good. I think Eric has captured it 100%. It's a very comprehensive response. I think the best way is to get in touch with Business France, and then we will also get involved on case-to-case basis.
Well, thank you, Himanshu, and thank you, Leah, also for your presentations. Now, moving on to the concluding remarks by Mr. Pierre Mongruet, Deputy General Manager for International Relations at the Paris-Île-de-France Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and at WTC Paris Île-de-France. Mr. Mongruet holds an MBA from the prestigious ESSEC Business School. He is with the Paris Chamber of Commerce since 2021. He was before with the French Treasury and held positions in Beijing, Dublin, and Paris. Mr. Mongruet has also lectured at France's prestigious political science school, Sciences Po, and he speaks French, English, as well as Mandarin. Pierre, le floor ou le micro est à toi.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, Nicolas. Well, thank you very much to WTC Bangalore for this webinar. I think it's always wonderful to have such a good opportunity to promote our bilateral ties with India. And I see it's a great pleasure to see also that so many participants have been connected to this webinar, and with I think a good mix of French and Indian companies. So that's really great. And I would like to say a special hello to our WTC members from the Paris region. So I understand that we're running out of time, so I'll be as brief as possible, I promise. First of all, to tell you that and to confirm that India is definitely a priority for us. So we really want to develop our economic ties with India and to help companies from both countries to intensify their business relation. We already see that in the statistics. I think last year we clearly noted a strong focus and a bigger emphasis from the French companies on the Indian market, and it's really visible in the missions that we organize with our partners and friends from Business France under the Team France Expo scheme, and clearly there is a larger interest from French companies. I think the French Consul mentioned it earlier, but as far as the Paris region is concerned, we already have a strong relationship and institutional relationship with India, and especially with the state of Karnataka. We have an agreement. We have a cooperation with the International Institute of Information Technologies of Bangalore, and you may be aware that we are the president of the Paris region, Mrs. Valérie Pécresse, made a visit in January 2024 with a delegation of companies in a number of sectors, ranging from robotics to digital green tech. And I do not forget also the great WTC event in Bangalore earlier this year, where a number of French companies also took part. So that I mean, we have more and more opportunities to connect companies, and we want to develop these opportunities in the coming month. So just a quick word on our role as a Chamber of Commerce and as a WTC, and you may understand that in France, World Trade Centers are often Chamber of Commerce, so it's often the same institution. So we really work in both directions. So clearly, we help French exporters to explore new markets, and we do that in a very close and strong partnership with Business France, but also with BPI France, which is the French public bank, to support many projects of companies, whether they are in France or abroad. But we also work in the other direction. Namely, we help, as WTCs, we help Indian companies to discover the French market. It is absolutely essential, and to learn about the French business environment. Paris region is the largest economic area in Europe. It's 30% of the national GDP. It's 25% of the national employment. And as you may know, France as a whole, for the 5th year in a row, has been the #1 destination for foreign direct investment in Europe. So we are clearly the place to be in Europe. You may be aware also that the French government has put a strong emphasis on industrialization, on manufacturing industries, and clearly this can benefit also foreign investors. A number of schemes are open to foreign investors and should be looked upon very carefully by foreign investors to develop in France, but also in the European market, starting from France as a basis. I think Eric mentioned it also earlier, but I would like to repeat it. Paris was a prominent financial center prior to Brexit, but it has now clearly become also a main financial center in Europe. It's the largest stock exchange in Europe in terms of market capitalization. It's above London. Paris has been the European city which attracted the largest number of relocations from London, of financial entities which were previously based in London. So these are great achievements, and interestingly, as a consequence, it has given birth to a vibrant ecosystem of companies which are developing around the financial sectors, whether it is for business services or startups in fintechs, etc. So there are many opportunities, and there is really a vibrant environment which is developing quite rapidly. And my final message is that I think we had a very comprehensive presentation on the business environment and the laws and in India, and that was really interesting. I think that everyone could see through this presentation that whatever the openness of the business environment, I think we strongly recommend that French and Indian companies look for support in their internationalization project. Whether you want, as an Indian company, go to France, or as a French company, go to India, it's absolutely necessary that you get advice from experts, professionals, to prepare your project. Not only regulations can differ, as you saw, and this can have, of course, a significant impact on your activity. But I would say more generally, business and cultural practices and consumer habits are very different, and you definitely have to take this into account into your business model, also sometimes into your production model, to prepare your project abroad. So on all these issues, I think we remain open, like our friends, other WTC, which represents different regions. I think all of us are really open to discuss that with French companies, Indian companies. Anyway, we have a common goal. It's absolutely essential that the economic links between our countries get stronger. We say it year after year, and we'd like not to have to say it again next year, but we have a strong potential, and we need to really do better in the economic field for our both countries. So please contact us if you have any question, if you want to discuss about your project in India or Indian companies in France, and we'll be happy to assist you, to help you, and to advise you. So thank you very much to all. Thank you, Nicolas, and to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pierre. Well, esteemed guests and panelists, merci, thank you, and dhanyabad. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Goodbye all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.